Jason Dorsey is the #1 speaker on generations in the world. He's received over 1,000 standing ovations.
Someone asked me last week, well, Jason, what happens when you grow out of being a millennial and you become Gen X? I was like, ooh, that would be strange. So as we think about generations, keep in mind, you stay in the same one. Have I lost anyone yet? Now, what people don't talk about, though, is generations as we get older do enter different life stages. So you travel through life stages, but stay in your generation.
He's appeared on over 200 media outlets, from 60 Minutes and the Today Show to a cover story in the New York Times.
I'm going to bring in Jason Dorsey. He's a Gen Z and Millennial keynote speaker.
As president of the Center for Generational Kinetics, Jason has led pioneering research on 4 continents. Adweek calls him a research guru.
Our research center, we're called the Center for Generational Kinetics, and what we do is we study generations, and we're on a mission to do one thing, which is to separate myth from truth. Because so much of what is said about generations, and many of you in this room probably feel it, isn't entirely accurate.
Known for his high-energy speaking style, he delivers brand new insights, surprising data, and engages audiences from the moment he walks on stage.
Where's my Gen Xers? Raise your hand, Gen X. Come on, Gen X. Woo! Look, Gen X, am I right? Nobody talks about you. You're totally dismissed. It's like, who is this group? And you survived the 80s. There we go, right? And then where's my baby boomers? Come on, there we go. Look at that, they brought their pens, ready to take notes. This is gonna be great.
Jason has headlined sold-out events from Singapore to Amsterdam and across the US. Leaders of the biggest brands count on Jason and his unique approach to humanizing generations.
I gotta tell you about my daughter. So we came home the other day, and we heard her talking, right? So she's talking in the kitchen. My wife and I walk in, and we hear her talking, and this is what we hear. Alexa, what's 12 plus 13? Alexa, how do you spell rainbow? And I looked at my wife and I said, she is using Alexa to do her homework. And I could not be more proud. My wife was a high school principal. Alexa is gone.
Jason has one focus: delivering an unforgettable, customized program that drives results for you. The following video segments are from Jason speaking to audiences across the US and internationally. He received a standing ovation at every event.
What we uncovered is that generations are not a box that you and I will fit neatly inside based on our birth year. It doesn't work that way. But what generations are, and I'm going to prove it to you today, is they're incredibly powerful and predictive clues to do 2 things, and that's it. And that is to faster connect with and influence people of different ages. And I would argue that it would be very hard to find a business in this room or somebody in a job where connecting and influencing is not absolutely critical to what you do. Is that right? The better we can connect and influence, the more you can drive the outcomes you want. Generations are clues to help you get there. And when we look at generations, there's very specific trends that shape them. And I want to share with you these trends, and I want you to write them down, because the trends travel around the world. We've done more than 40 studies on generations, and not just Gen Z or millennials, which a lot of people do, and it's a mistake. We need to do multiple generations every time, and we need to do it around the world. We study everything from generations and their impacts on cars, financial services, healthcare, CPG, restaurants. Gen X's big thing is they're naturally skeptical, right? They don't believe anything. They always come up to me, we're gonna have a meet and greet afterwards, I'd love to visit with you, take some pictures. Gen X is the only group they'll come up to me and say, Jason, I enjoyed that, got a lot out of that. I didn't think I would. And then they say, I'd love to see your data. No one else asked to see my data. Millennials come up and they say, Jason, do you have anything on video? And boomers come up and they'll be like, do you have any extra handouts? I'd like to take them back for training purposes. So Gen X, this Gen X group are the parents of the oldest members of Gen Z. And because of that, Gen X, they saw the Great Recession, they saw millennials, they did not like this entitlement thing. And Gen X's parents said, we do not want our kids to turn out like who? Millennials, absolutely. And they did everything they could to start to swing the pendulum the other way. And here's what we've uncovered. 3 key things. This happened at one of the hotels where I was here in Amsterdam. They gave me a paper map to get around. It was huge. And I literally looked at the guy and I was like, seriously? How do you know where north is? This will help you with your marketing, your sales, your customer experience, help you with your employees, and it will definitely help you with your family. Please finish this sentence out loud with me. Millennials, we are tech savvy. Thank you. Please don't write it down because it's wrong. But it's based on good observation. You see us, we're always staring at what? Our phone, right? We're texting, we're tweeting, we're walking into walls. I totally walked into one of those pillars out there. It was a very poorly placed pillar. So everybody's looking at us like, oh, they're tech-savvy generation. What we uncovered is that millennials, we are not tech-savvy. Write this down. What we actually are, we are tech-dependent. And there's an important distinction. And the distinction is, we don't know how technology actually works. We just know we cannot live without it. There are lots of people running around saying millennials go to 2000, and with all due respect, they're absolutely flat wrong. And I'll prove it to you right now. What is the most important defining event of the millennial generation, my generation? 9/11. Thank you. What year was 9/11? 2001. Absolutely. Listen closely. You cannot be born after 1995 and process the significance of September the 11th, 2001. You are simply too young. Your brain is too young. In fact, parents were told if you had little kids, what? Turn off the TV. And this is really important. The way we explain it is if you do not remember 9/11, if 9/11 has always been history to you, you are not a millennial, you're in Generation Z. Otherwise, it'd be like saying, well, Jason, you can be a baby boomer. Go watch the JFK assassination and suddenly you're a boomer. It doesn't work like that, does it? The reason is you have to remember the event and experience it in real time, and most importantly, have the fear of the unknown of what is going to happen next. Otherwise, it's not a generation-defining moment. When we look at millennials, the most important things to know, when I speak with boards, you guys go back to your banks and your credit unions and you speak to your directors, these are the data points that they need to know. So first, millennials are older than most people assume. If we did a quick survey in here and I said, how old is the average millennial? The number one answer would be something around the age of 25. Because people think we're 25, right? We're 25, our pants are falling off, yes? We live in our parents' basement, come on, right? This is the whole thing. The truth is, millennials on average are around age 30 now, and we keep thinking they're going to change and be like everyone else. And it's not happening, and let me be direct, it's not going to happen. Because so much of what's going on in the world, and these macro trends, has caused us to see the world differently and not change in the way that other generations did at the same age. Yet the truth is, millennials are the #1 generation in the United States workforce. Now, there are certain countries where I speak where that's not true. That's due to demographics. But in the US, there are more of us working than anyone else. And as we look ahead, so there's more of us working, we're outspending everybody else. What are the key things nobody's talking about? In our research at our center, we look for these things called hidden drivers. Our generation's biggest hidden driver is Gen Z is intentionally choosing to attend less expensive colleges and universities so they graduate with less college debt. And let me give you an example. One of our interns, amazing young lady, got into all these fancy colleges and universities. So I asked her, I said, how did you pick where you're gonna go? You got so many, it's really exciting. And she says, well, I made a list. I put the best one I got into, and then I listed all the way down where they fell. And she said, I went up the list to the best one I got into that also gave me a full ride. And she turned down 5 much more famous colleges and universities. And I asked her, why did you do that? And she said, it's really important to not graduate with debt. I want you to notice that's the complete opposite of what millennials were told. Am I right, millennials? We were told, get into the best college you can and just get loans, it'll work out. Yes? And thank goodness our parents here, they co-signed, thank you. But Gen Z is saying, I don't want any part of that. This is really important. If you go to college, university, and you graduate with less college debt, you actually have more mobility. It gives you the freedom to move and pursue other opportunities. It also gives you the ability to save, to think about things like retirement. All of these things start to change. So they're saying, I'm going to go to a less expensive college or university to graduate with less college debt. Number 3, 12% of Gen Z are already saving for retirement. It's unbelievable. In fact, they use these apps, you know, that take money, put it into an account. They already have an emergency account set up. We do these monthly interviews. We meet 16 and 17-year-olds where money, $1, $2, $5 is being whisked away to an emergency account. How many of you knew a 16 or 17-year-old that needed an emergency account? Nobody, right? We had our parents. This is no. I want to have it. It's my money. I need to set it aside. At the same time, 25% of Gen Z had cell phones before the age of 10. They're going to totally change how they interact with the services you provide. The best thing you can do on the first day is provide specific examples of the performance that you expect. For my millennials in here, it works just the same when we work across other generations. The problem is people say things that they think are specific. My favorite example, the dress code here is business casual. So we show up and we have on khaki pants and flip-flops. Business casual. So the best thing we've seen, and this works with every generation, is if you want somebody to do something and empower them to be successful, use your phone and take a photo or a video of what you want them to do. What we learned with millennials and Gen Z, listen closely, they are almost entirely visual learners. We have been conditioned to skip blocks of text on a screen. YouTube is our most trusted learning resource. My daughter is 7 years old. She's in 2nd grade. Her name is Raya. She's named after my great-grandmother, Raya. When my daughter turned 2, we found out that was not my great-grandmother's name. Thank you, Ancestry.com. It's totally awkward for us, too. It's fine, but we already stenciled it on the wall, so we're like, yeah, we're sticking with it. So when I called her today, before she was going to school, 2nd grade, how did I call her from this iPhone? Parents and grandparents. FaceTime, yes. I was standing right outside here. I'm talking with her. She's talking with me. We have a whole conversation going on. Today's art class, so it's a big day for 2nd grade. My daughter, 7 years old, listen closely, will never remember a time before you could look at the person on the phone while you are talking to them. In her belief system, that is how the phone works. Let me say it differently. If she can't see you, she won't talk to you. She'll put the phone down. She'll say face down. She'll say the phone's broken. What was the cartoon? Come on, Gen X, you know this. What was the cartoon when you could see the person you were talking to? The Jetsons. Listen closely. My daughter's generation will think the Jetsons was about the past. Because what we uncovered is that technology is only new if you remember it the way it was before. If you only give annual reviews, change the name, call them exit interviews. Because we won't be there. Now, the good news is we don't actually quit, we just stop going. So ongoing, quick hit feedback. That's all we need. Keep your ribbons, keep your trophies, keep all that nonsense. We just need to know and hear from you that you know we exist. That's it, and we see it all around the world.